Hi everyone, good evening. This is CA Kaushik Mukesh. Welcome to Kaushik's Pathshala. And today is the third session for the chapter Foreign Exchange and Management Act. So today we are going to deal with the conclusion to the chapter called as the Foreign Exchange and Management Act 1999. And today's topics will be, as already announced, um, the first one will be the transactions under FEMA being the capital account transactions, current account transactions, realization. This is one set, realization and repatriation concept. That is the next one, and last one will be the judiciary. There will be another one additional session on FEMA, which will be covering out amendments to the chapter called as FEMA, which will be called as external commercial borrowings and imports concept. So that will be dealt separately in another video. Main concepts on FEMA will be completed. Amendments area will be covered separately in a amendments video session itself. Amendments video will be on a FEMA amendments. Separate amendments will be provided for FEMA and all the other chapters. There we will be covering that, and the amendment session will be covered just after this video. So let us first start without any delay. Now our revision will be on the transactions under FEMA. What are these transactions all about? FEMA chapter is all about transactions that happen on a foreign exchange. There can be two types of foreign exchange transactions that can happen. One will be called as capital account transaction and another will be called as current account transaction. Name itself is telling this will be the capital account transaction, this will be the current account transaction. This will be recurring in nature, this will be non-recurring in nature. This affects the balance sheet, this affects the P&L account and personal accounts. So let us try to understand in-depth meaning of what is a capital account transaction all about and how to understand them. So let us start with the definition of a capital account transaction. What is a capital account transaction? Capital account transaction means a transaction which alters assets or liabilities outside India for a PRI, assets or liabilities within India for a PROI. So I repeat once again, capital account transactions are those transactions which alters assets or liabilities outside India for a PRI or assets or liabilities within India for a PROI. Okay. This also includes not only normal liabilities, contingent liabilities will also be included into this. What is a contingent liability? When we come to the concept, I will only explain, but just remember as of now. So, capital account transaction means a transaction which alters assets and liabilities outside India for a PRI, within India for a PROI. So, let us try to understand in depth. In-depth analysis of the definition. Let us take a balance sheet. In this balance sheet, liabilities are there, assets are there. Change in Indian liability, change in Indian assets, change in foreign liability, change in foreign assets. Now, you people should answer this particular concept on your own, extrapolate and answer, contemplate properly. I am a PRI. In my balance sheet, Indian assets are getting affected. For example, I am Kaushik Mukesh residing in India. Now, I purchased a particular house in Vijayawada. Now, answer, I am purchasing a house in Vijayawada and I am a PRI. Is there anything to do with FEMA? No. Therefore, for a PRI, if the Indian assets are getting affected, is this a capital account transaction? Not a capital account transaction. Not a capital account transaction. And same even with a Indian liability. I have taken loan from SBI in Vijayawada. Why FEMA will get attracted unnecessarily? Now, to the other side of the story, I am a PRI. I am purchasing an asset in New York. Now, answer, when I purchase an asset in New York, obviously there is a release of foreign exchange and the immovable property situated outside India. FEMA will get attracted. This is necessarily a capital account transaction. This is also a capital account transaction. So, for a PRI, foreign assets and foreign liabilities should be affected or should be altered. Next, balance sheet of a PROI. Let us look into this. So, for a PROI, Indian asset is purchased. For example, a person residing in New York is purchasing an asset in India. Now, answer, will the sections get affected for him? Very much attracted, and even here very much attracted. And in the second case, other assets. For example, why I am writing not foreign assets, other assets. For a USA person, Australia becomes other assets. Their country will become home currency, and both are irrelevant for us. So therefore, if you are a PROI, if you are purchasing house in Australia, why unnecessarily Indian FEMA will do overaction? if it really interfere, that is really an overaction, because both the countries are not having any kind of transaction effect with India. Therefore, when a PROI not having any alteration of Indian assets and Indian liabilities, capital account transaction has nothing to do with. This is a basic introduction to the capital account transaction. So capital account transaction means a transaction which alters assets or liabilities in India for a PROI and outside India for a PRI, and includes certain transactions inside. Now I have one small example to deal with. So see here. Analyze and decide. Asset purchased in rupee, loan taken in rupees. So I purchased an asset in Vijayawada by taking a loan from SBI Vijayawada. Now tell me, is it a capital account transaction for a PRI? Yes. Next one. I purchased a house in USA by taking a loan in India. That means I have taken a loan in India, converted that loan amount into dollars and invested in a dollar. Now answer my question. This will get attracted with the capital account transaction or not? Yes. This is a capital account transaction for a PRI, but through which route? Assets route or liabilities route? Assets route. Next one. I purchased asset in rupees by taking a loan in dollars. Is this a capital account transaction? Yes, this is a capital account transaction, but through which route? Liabilities route. I purchased asset in USA by taking loan in USA. Is this a capital account transaction for a PRI? Yes, through asset route or liability route, both assets and liability route. Next one. Capital account transaction for a PROI. Asset purchased in rupee by taking a loan in rupee. Is this a capital account transaction for him? Yes, it is necessarily a capital account transaction. Assets or liability? Asset and liability. Whether this will attract or not? Yes, this will attract to a liability route. This will get attract? Yes. Through which route? Through the asset route. And here this will get attracted or not? No, it will not get attracted. This is the basic idea behind capital account transactions under FEMA. This is not the end of capital account transaction. Definition capital account transaction has been analyzed now. So capital account transaction means a transaction which alters assets or liabilities outside India for a PRI and within India for a PROI. Includes contingent liabilities. So what they are, we will be discussing later. So this is the first one. So first thing, charging section number 3 reads as under: no person shall deal or transfer any foreign exchange, make any payment, receive any payment, enter into any financial transaction in foreign exchange except through an authorized person. So I think everyone remember we already discussed the concept of authorized person in the other day's class. So now we are going directly into the transactions under FEMA. If possible, please take a pause button, stop this, and please first contemplate this particular chart transactions under FEMA. Let's try to understand what they are. Transactions under FEMA are divided into two different categories. One is a capital account transaction, another one is a current account transaction. All capital account transactions are strictly prohibited unless permitted. That means which list will be given? Positive list will be given. All the others will become a negative list. Current account transactions are those transactions where all current account transactions are permitted unless prohibited. So what is the difference? In capital account transaction, they will give a positive list. All the other become negative. In current account transaction, they will give a negative list. All the others will become positive. That's how both the sections have been drafted. So capital account transactions. Permissible with approval. There are three categories of capital account transaction. Category 1, Category 2 and Category 3. First category, permissible with approval, freely permissible without any approval requirements, and strictly prohibited capital account transactions. So try to understand what they are. Permissible with approval. There are two authorities to give an approval. RBI. RBI will give approval for the transactions which are involving debt instruments. If the transaction does not involve a debt instrument, then CG approval is required. This is amendment brought out by the 2019 amendments to the FEMA, and this is applicable for the first time for the June 2020 examination. So make sure that you are thorough with this particular point. This is an amendment area. Chances are there to be asked in exam. So first listen carefully. Capital account transactions are popularly categorized and divided into three categories. Number 1, permissible with approval, freely permissible, and strictly prohibited capital account transactions. Permissible with approval means whose approval is required? Sometimes RBI approval is required, sometimes central government approval is required, and when RBI approval is required and when central government approval is required is a very important point here. So when central government approval is required, when debt instruments are not involved, central government has to give an approval. When debt instruments are involved, RBI has to give an approval. Simple logic, RBI will take into account all type of banking transactions. Therefore, debt instruments and everything are under the control of RBI, and normal capital account transactions other than debt instrument involvement will go into the hands of central government. Now the question arises. First thing, capital account transactions are strictly prohibited or permitted? Prohibited. Other than whatever is not said in the prohibition will be the permissible? No. Capital account transactions will give you the positive list. These are the transactions you can do. All the others you cannot do. That means all transactions are strictly prohibited unless permitted. Now, whether permitted or not, yes, permitted. Some transactions are permitted. Permitted with whose approval? Involving debt instrument, RBI. Not involving debt instrument, central government permission is required. This is an amendment. Now the next query. Okay, I am coming into the permissible list. It is permissible to entirety. That means whatever amount I want, can I do that? No. That permissibility is subjected to further restrictions. Class of transactions, limits and other conditions. Means what? RBI will give you the list of classes of transactions which can be done in the debt instruments area. That means whenever debt instrument is involved, whose permission is required? RBI permission is required. RBI will give list of transactions involving debt instrument. Only those you can do. That means the class. What do you mean by the class here? List. I will give the list of transactions involving debt instrument. Only those you can do. Even in debt instrument, you can't carry on everything. The debt instruments which I notify can be done by the particular person, being PRI or PRO, as the case may be. Next one, I will also give you the limits. Volume limits will also be given. You cannot cross beyond 500 million US dollars. You can't cross beyond 10 billion US dollars. You can't cross beyond 1 billion US dollars. Like that, they will put a limit. You can only go only up to that particular limit that was prescribed. So that's what I want to convey in this connection. That means, first thing, capital account transactions will be divided into three categories: permissible with approval, freely permissible, and all the others will become strictly prohibited. Permissible with approval means whose approval? Involving debt instruments, RBI. Not involving debt instruments, central government. Next one, RBI, all debt instrument transactions are allowed? No. Again, it will give the list and class of transactions which are allowed, amounts will be given, and other conditions will be attached. So this is the first one. Freely permissible without restrictions. We will go across all these things now, but just as a summary, you can read this chart. So freely permissible without any restriction. That means even RBI permission, central government permission is not required. In this case, there are two transactions here. What are those? Just in another 2-3 minutes, we will be coming into that. Next one, strictly prohibited capital account transactions. What are strictly prohibited capital account transactions? There are two types of strictly prohibited capital account transactions: express prohibition, implied prohibition. What is express prohibition? There is a regulation which says that these are the 5 transactions where PROI is strictly prohibited. Who is prohibited? PROI is strictly prohibited. If the same transactions are done by PRI, those are not prohibited. I mean it. Please listen carefully. Most of the students will go wrong in this area. The 5 transactions which they specify are permitted for a PRI, are not permitted to whom? PROI, they are not permitted. So therefore, express prohibitions were given for PROI. Next one, what do you mean by this implied concept? Express, okay, understood. What is this concept of, what is this concept of implied? This is very important. What I already said, RBI will give the list, class of transactions are given. Central government will give a list, class of transactions are given. Transactions which are not coming into any of the class will come into the prohibited category. If you are within the class but limits have been crossed, then you will be coming into prohibition. If you could not satisfy the conditions, it will become prohibited. So therefore, what I told you at the beginning of the capital account transactions concept, all capital account transactions are strictly prohibited unless permitted. I have said only this class is permitted, others are prohibited. I said only up to the limit is permitted, remaining are prohibited. So this is the way in which you need to interpret this particular concept. Hope up to here everyone is understanding the concept very clearly. If you have any doubts, feel free to message me. There is a telegram group. Telegram group is not for putting the messages. I will keep the important information there. If you have any kind of personal doubts with regard to the concepts, with regard to the syllabus what we are covering, I will give you a number. Please PM me, personally message me. I will reply one or the other time. Definitely I will come with a reply for you. Okay, so next one, not covered by the specified class or crossing the limits or conditions not satisfied. Next one, current account transactions. Current account transactions are again divided into three parts. First one will be strictly prohibited. Remaining will be CG approval and RBI approval. RBI approval is again divided into two categories, category A and category B. This is called as a schedule number 1 and schedule number 2. Schedule 1 covers individuals, schedule 2 covers other than individuals. What are those? Once we go to the current account transactions concept, we can understand it. So just for half a minute, I'm keeping this chart. Please go through this properly. Next issue, categories of capital account transactions. Capital account transactions are broadly classified into two parts, freely permissible capital account transactions and strictly prohibited capital account transactions requiring the prior approval of RBI. Freely permissible capital account transactions are governed by proviso, strictly prohibited are governed by regulations, and requiring prior approval of RBI are covered by schedule number 1 and 2 of the regulations. So this is not so important for exam. You need not remember this chart, but still these points gain some importance. Analysis. Section number 6, subsection number 1 and 2 says as follows. Any PRI or PROI may draw foreign exchange or sell foreign exchange for any capital account transaction only through an authorized person. Simple point, if you want to make a capital account transaction, if you want to have some receipt on capital account transaction, you can make a payment, you can receive a particular payment, but that should be only through whom? Authorized person, and the transaction should be a permitted transaction provided act is permitted by the RBI. Next one, CAT, freely permissible. I already told you there are three categories of capital account transaction. Category number one will be freely permissible. Category 2 will be strictly prohibited. Capital 3 will be part 3 will be requiring the approvals. Or first one we can take the approvals, and second one we can take the prohibitions, and third one we can take the freely permissible. Now we are coming into the freely permissible capital account transaction. There are two freely permissible capital account transactions. Number one will be amortization of loan. Number two will be depreciation on direct investment. So we can remember amortization of loans and depreciation on direct investment. We can mug up the concept well and. But if in examination, especially in paper 60, he may not ask you amortization of loan and depreciation on direct investment directly. He may technically insert a concept of amortization and depreciation. He may ask a question. At that time, it should be helpful. So please listen carefully. Amortization is not normal amortization you see in accountancy. This concept is completely different. These are called as mere book entry transactions where there is no outflow. Didn't understood? Okay. Now first thing, contemplate yourself and answer, because you are not audible to me and I can't see you. Just honestly make a contemplation. Point number one, amortization, if you do, value will be increased or decreased. A value is there. If you do some amortization, the value will increase or value will decrease. Obviously the value will decrease because of amortization. Like this, you should not think, because amortization of assets will reduce the value of asset, but amortization of liability increase the value of liability. This amortization is not the amortization you see in Ind AS. That means Ind AS 107, 109, there you will see amortization concept. That amortization and this one completely different. That is different, this is completely different. So what this is all about, let's try to understand in a detailed way. Amortization of loans, how it actually works. I am writing on a rough, just concentrate properly because this is not a normal session to cover everything. So please concentrate properly. Let me cover the concept. Balance sheet of a PRI balance sheet is there. So let's have a look into this balance sheet having liabilities and assets. See here now, I'm first going through the liability because amortization of loan is a liability for me. Okay, Mr. A, being a PRI, has taken a loan from Citibank worth $100 lakh. Loan worth how much? $100 lakh loan has been taken. This was taken at the rate of 10% per annum. 10% per annum they have taken a loan. He has taken a loan. Now after 1 year, how much interest he has to pay? He has to pay $10 lakh. So the interest payable has been accumulated and it has come to $10 lakh. If he would have paid this 10 lakh, liability would have vanished. He didn't make a payment. As it is, like normal Indian, he has made a defaulting, making a payment, taking Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi as a great inspiration and inspirators. He has taken them as a great inspiration and he got defaulted to this foreign bank. This foreign bank has two remedies now. One, proceed through insolvency bankruptcy code. Second one, amortize the loan. What is amortization? I will include this defaulting interest into the principal. I included it. Now answer. Everyone who are listening to the video lecture, please contemplate yourself. Tell me, what is the opening loan amount? If I am not wrong, it will be $100 lakh. And what is the closing loan amount? $110 lakhs. Sorry, $110 lakhs. Now answer my question. I am a PRI or PROI? PRI. Now everyone contemplate yourself. Those who are watching the video, honestly speak out. Speak out. బయటికి చెప్పండి. So please read the definition of capital account transaction. Capital account transaction is a transaction which alters assets or liabilities outside India for a PRI. Alteration should be there. Alteration means numericals should be changing. Now answer my question. I am a PRI and my opening balance is 100 lakhs. My closing balance is 110 lakhs. Now answer my question. There is a change in the liability or not? Yes. For a PRI or PROI? PRI. In India or outside India? Outside India. That means I am a PRI. I have a change in liability situated outside India. All the conditions of capital account transaction are satisfied or not? Yes. This is a capital account transaction. Now answer my question. What is the opening balance? 100. Closing balance? 110. If you don't tell anything, what the other party will think? You might have taken extra 10 lakhs loan. I have taken extra 10 lakhs loan, or principal is added with the added with the defaulted interest, added with the defaulted interest. That means I have taken extra 10 lakh dollars. No, since this is only a mere book entry and there is no flow of foreign exchange, this becomes a freely permissible capital account transaction. This is how this particular concept has been derived. I can't repeat like in a normal session, so please go back to the video and then rewind and listen to the concepts. I am very slow in explaining this, so I am not just going by reading the concepts. I want to explain certain concepts, so please, if you didn't understand in first go, please go back and then listen. You can definitely understand what I said. Next issue, amortization of loans completed. This is a depreciation on direct investments. So let's try to understand what is this. Same concept now on the assets side. There is a company called as Reliance India Limited. This Reliance India Limited has made a direct equity investment in a company called as Microsoft of USA. Example, this person will kick this person, but just for example sake, let us take Microsoft company is having a direct investment by one of the Indian multinational Indian company called as Reliance Industries Limited. Example, let us say the investment made is 100 lakh dollars. Okay, how much? 100 lakh dollars investment is made in the equity shares. Reliance India Limited entered into USA market. Rahu Kalam they entered. That means what will happen automatically? Horoscope will be very bad. After Reliance entity investing in Microsoft, total market in USA has crashed because of Corona. So market has dramatically got negatively affected, and the experts of Microsoft company have said the Microsoft saying that according to the US gaps, there is a permanent downfall in the value of the Microsoft shares. Okay, example, let us take in your FR in the investments standard, you will see there are two types of investment: current investment, long term investment. Current investments will be valued at cost or market value, whichever is lower, and long term investments will be valued only at a cost. However, long term investments may be devalued below the cost provided there is a permanent diminution. That's what here happened. Microsoft accountants have clearly indicated that because of the corona effect and certain other aspects like leg of Reliance Industries Limited into USA market has shattered the prices in such a way that there is no instance of again bumping up to the other side of the story. The candlesticks of Reliance India Microsoft company will always on a lower side, and there is no instance of growing up in the near future. They have devalued the share prices of Microsoft, and that impact will be there also on one of the investor being Reliance India. It invested 100 lakhs at the market value. Now there is a permanent diminution at the rate of how much percent? 30%. That will be 30 lakh dollars. Now my revised value will be 100 lakhs or 30 lakhs or 70 lakhs. It will be 70 lakhs dollars. Now answer my question. I am a PRI or PROI. Already on the day one of our sessions, I said you very clearly who is a PRI. Company incorporated in India will be a PRI. Reliance India Limited is a company incorporated in India. Therefore, that will become a PRI. This particular PRI has opening balance of 100 which became 70. There is a reduction or not? There is a change or not? There is a change in the Indian asset or foreign asset? Foreign asset. Therefore, this is a capital account transaction. Really, I sold 30 lakh dollars of investment or book entry. Book entry in the book's original value is 100 lakhs. Now I am reducing it. This is a mere book entry where there is no flow of foreign exchange. This is also freely permitted. That's how this act is made. So just have a look into this. Take a minute time. Not even minute time. You can take just 10-15 seconds to complete. So please see this. We'll be going into the next one. So capital account transaction freely permitted, amortization of loan, depreciation on direct investment. This concept is applicable equally for both PRI and PROI. Next issue. Transformation of residential status and related concepts. Section number 64, 65 and 66. Effect of transformation in residential status on currency, security and immobile property. Sir, what is this going on? Okay. Let us first understand the concept very clearly in detail. Section number 64 and section number 65 of EMA. What these are talking about. First, without looking into the screen, first listen to my voiceover. Later you can read that. Okay, don't pop your eyes out and look at the answer. You can't understand that directly. So please listen first. Point number 1. I am a PROI. When I am a PROI, let us say I am in USA. I am a PROI. I've been there in USA since the past 15 years. Okay. Okay. I'm a resident of USA. Okay. Now what happened? After becoming a resident, I will purchase certain assets in USA. Yes or no? Yes. I purchased a house in USA. Now, if I prepare my personal balance sheet, there will be if USA asset or not, house in New York or like that. So, okay, very good. Now, I am a PROI, purchased assets in USA. When I am a PROI, later I became a PRI. That means there is a transformation in my residential status. Now I become a PRI. Okay, after becoming a PRI upon a permanent return to India, what will happen? Obviously, I became a PRI. When I become PRI, again I will prepare a balance sheet or not. At that time, in my Indian balance sheet, foreign assets will be there. Now tell me, those foreign assets are purchased after becoming PRI or before becoming PRI? Before becoming PRI, and when I am a PROI. those assets which are acquired by a PROI outside India when he was a PRI can be held, can be owned, can be transferred after becoming a PRI without any kind of permission. I repeat once again for your kind understanding, listen. Now I will tell the reverse case. I am a PRI. Now I am a PRI. I am in India. I am in Vijayawada now. I am a PRI. Last year also I am there in India. Therefore I am a perfect PRI example. Now what happened is I am a PRI. I purchased house in Vijayawada. Okay, what happened? After 1 year or after 10-15 days, I went to USA. I want to settle there permanently. Now I am a PRI becoming a PROI. Okay, they asked me, I'm leaving today. Okay, they asked me why you are going to USA. I said that I am establishing a practice of CA in USA, for example. Okay, I'm practicing there. That's called as a business or a vocation. So I went outside India with an intention to stay there permanently for another 10-15 years. Now I will be called as a PROI or not? Yes, I will be called as a PROI. I was notified as a PROI. Now answer, I purchased an asset in India as a PRI in India, later become a PROI. After becoming a PROI, I have some Indian assets or not? Those are not Indian assets acquired after becoming PROI. Those are acquired when I am a PRI, but due to transformation of my resident status, they became the assets of a PROI. Therefore, those assets can be held, owned, or transferred without any kind of restrictions. This is what 6.4 and 6.5 want to convey. In a nutshell, you can tell like this. Once I am a PRI, later becoming PROI. Once I become a PROI, I become a PRI. In these cases, assets can be held, owned, and transferred without any kind of restrictions. That's all. Next issue. There is another important issue called as assets acquired on inheritance. These are all questions that were asked once or twice in examinations already. So diagrammatically, I try to represent this. So please concentrate carefully. Effect of inheritance on the assets acquired. So what this inheritance concept all about? Look here. I am a PROI. I reside in USA. When I am in USA, I acquired assets outside India. Let us take one example. Okay, let us take Mr. A. He is in USA. He acquired some assets in New York. Okay, now what happened? He is a grandfather to Mr. B. This is A, grandfather to B. Now answer, A being grandfather is in USA and acquired assets outside India in USA. Later, what he has done is, grandfather is in deathbed. Okay, immediately what he has done, he has written a trust deed and inheritance deed saying that my properties will be transferred to my grandchild Mr. B in India. Now tell me, all the assets of PROI are now transferred into whose hands? PRI. Now answer, I am a PRI. Okay, assets are altering. Which assets? Indian assets or foreign assets? Foreign assets are getting altered. As it is, if you look into, this is a capital account transaction or not? Yes, but there is no consideration. This is also permitted without any restriction. Vice versa will also apply. That is the next diagram that I have given. Okay. Next, RBI controls the branch offices and place of businesses. RBI may put prohibitions, restrictions or regulations in establishment of branch office and places of business in India. That means if in case of a foreign company, if it want to start a place of business in India, you can, but with the permission of RBI. So guarantee transactions I will discuss separately. This is all about the capital account transactions. So this is a full chart again for the capital account transaction. Just take a minute time and refer this. Next. Now we completed capital account transactions that are permitted. Next one. We are now going into capital account transactions that are strictly prohibited. And one important point to notify you. I completed capital account transactions which are permissible only in the section number 6 we completed now. Okay, but there is schedules to that, schedule 1 and schedule 2. I didn't discuss about that. I will discuss once after completion of capital account transactions concept. Okay, now I am a before we start, let me introduce what we are going to do now. Whatever I am discussing are prohibited capital account transactions to PROI. These are called as express prohibitions. That means all capital account transactions are prohibited unless permitted. Okay, these are permitted to PRI but not to PROI, therefore separately given. So what they are, let's try to understand clearly. First thing, I am a PROI. I am making a investment. Investment where entity? That entity is where? In India. First 4 points. I am a PROI. Everyone contemplate properly. Please speak out and revise. Revision helps you. So please read along with me. First one, I am a PROI. I am making which activity? Investment. Investment where? Entity. That entity is in India and that entity is engaged in any of the following businesses. Chit fund, that means funding business. Nidhi, that means funding business. Agriculture and plantation, backbone of the Indian economy, shall not be in the hands of PROI. Real estate and farmhouses. If I give real estate chance investment to PROI, first day they will purchase Amirpet, second day they will purchase Brodipet. Therefore, I will not give them a chance to invest in real estate and farmhouses and trading in TDRs. TDR means transferable development rights. That means on an immovable property in India, ownership will be with me, but you will develop the property. If I give a chance like that, once after development, they will take ownership on that. For example, there is a big land of almost a half a acre I have in Vijayawada. Example, I don't have half an acre in Vijayawada. Example, half acre land is owned by me. For example, in Vijayawada. Now, what will happen? I am having a land because that land came to me through my ancestral property. So I am not purchasing it. I haven't purchased it yet. I got as a ancestral legacy. I got the property. Now what I will do? I don't have money to construct a building in that, but I can have a chance to give it for a development to a person. What I will do now? I will now give this plot to one of the renowned foreign person. I will give this property to him, this land. I will ask him to develop the property. For development, what he will get? What he will get means I will be there is a big flat in that half a acre. They will construct a 30-floored building. For each floor, there will be five houses. 30 floored into 5 houses will become 150. They will be giving me 10 particular flats to me, and all the remaining 140 flats they will sell it. That means indirectly they are entering into real estate, which is restricted only to the Indians. Therefore, government don't want to give any chance for them to do so. So therefore, what are prohibited? Please everyone revise along with me. First, I must be a PROI and I must be making a investment. Investment where? Entity where? In India. That entity is engaged in chit fund business, Nidhi business, agriculture plantation, real estates and farmhouses construction, and transferable development rights trading. Next one, exceptions. What is not a real estate? If you develop India, that's not real estate. Means what? Development of townships and construction of residential commercial premises and roads. That means you should construct and go, you should not take ownership. Then that's not a real estate business. Chit fund is also allowed if you invest with the permission of the registrar of chits, and the amount is received through a banking channel but not through the cash. If it comes through cash, it will be called as a hawala transaction. Okay, next one. Then it is not prohibited. Actually those are prohibited, but if you do like this, it is not prohibited. So now what we completed, everyone please just make a quick revision. Capital account transactions that are strictly prohibited completed. Now we have seen capital account. By the way, now whatever we have seen is a capital account transaction strictly prohibited to whom? PROI. Then PRI, everything is prohibited except what are coming into RBI and CG permission. Now everyone's listening will get a small kind of doubt. Sir, we now completed the concept of capital account transaction, freely permissible, fully understandable, amortization of loan, depreciation and direct, strictly prohibited. Whatever is not permitted is prohibited. Along with that, for PRO, these are the additional prohibitions provided. Clear. Then the doubt is, what are the class of transactions which will be applicable to the PRI and PROI? That is one important question. First thing, see here, class of transactions list you need not remember for the examinations. Examiner will not ask you, but still for some clarity purpose I am trying to make it. So please see here, capital account transactions of a person, that means a person means what? Which person? Can be PRI or PROI. may be classified under following heads. Schedule 1 for PRI, Schedule 2 for PROI. That means Schedule 1 was given for PRI, Schedule 2 for PROI. Okay, now, by the way, first thing I want to convey, PROI, making investments in India, are called as, making investment or taking money from India are called as a foreign direct investment. What investment? Foreign direct investment. Okay, anyway, we have seen a word called as a class of transactions. This is what I want to convey. Schedule 1, class of capital account transactions of a person resident in India. Investment by a person resident in India in foreign securities. Next one, foreign currency loans raised in India and abroad by a person resident in India. These are only called as external commercial borrowings. We will have a separate discussion on that. That will be another 1.5 hour session completely. In-depth understanding. Transfer of immovable property outside India by a person resident in India. That means I am a PROI. I am a PROI. Listen carefully. I am a PROI. Okay. I am PROI. Purchased the immovable property outside India and became a PRI later. Now this is a capital account transaction or not capital account transaction, but it is permitted or not permitted. Just now we have seen that yes, it is permitted with the approvals. That means you may be a PRI, you may be a PROI. PROI we will see later. First I am a PRI. I am a PRI. I purchased immovable property outside India. Now I want to transfer that. Yes, you can do that with the permission of RBI. Sorry, with the permission of central government. Because here debt instruments are involved, not involved, not involved. This requires a central government permission. If debt instruments are involved, RBI permission is also required. You need not remember all these things and mug up. Mainly, you should be having some smartness in understanding this particular area. I will be explaining you in this way. See here. For the examination purposes, you can use this technique. Capital account transactions are divided into 3 categories. Freely permissible, strictly prohibited, permits required. If a question is asked in examination, if it is not coming into freely permissible, if it is not coming into strictly prohibited, you can automatically judge that it is a permissible activity. Okay, that means if it is not coming into freely permissible and strictly prohibited, automatically it will come into what? Permitted activity. Permitted activity means it is permissible with the approvals. If it is, then you have to have a contemplation whether this is a PRI or PROI. Then look into that. After that, you need to make a look involving debt securities and not involving debt securities. If it is involving debt securities, RBI, not involving debt securities, CG permission is required. That's all. For the examination sake, this is a strategy that you can use. Since this is a revision session, I can't explain all the transactions written there and waste your valuable time. I just want to make it very clear that the list of freely permissible I discussed completely. Strictly prohibited I completely completed. So everything is over. This permissible transactions, even in exam he is not asking, but if at all he asks a question, check whether it is coming into first one. No. Second one. No. Automatically it will come into the third one. But be wise when you are answering. See whether it is for a PRI or PROI. Okay. Add some words like this. When it is a PRI, as per schedule 1, write down. If it is a PROI, write down as per schedule 2. Okay, and you have to contemplate whether they are debt or non-debt securities. If it is a debt security, then RBI. If it is not a debt security, then it will be the CG permission. This is the end of capital account transactions under FEMA. Hope everything is clear to everyone listening to this particular video. If you have any kind of doubts in this connection, so please personally message to this particular number. Okay, 9866728874. This is my personal number, so please message to this particular number in case of any doubts with regard to our subject. Okay, and please don't call, make a message. Okay, make a message, and this is also linked to a Telegram group. First, if you message, I will give you the details, etc. So first thing is, if you, I think everyone is clear up to here. If you have any kind of doubts, you can personally message me to that number. Next issue, realization and repatriation. Everyone will be annoyed and surprised to see, sir, there are 2 types of transactions. One is current account, another one is capital account. You completed capital account transaction, but current account transaction not yet completed. You have directly gone through realization and repatriation. What is this? Yanna Pakshapatam. current account transactions, I'm going to cover it separately at the end of this session. Okay, so first let me complete some small issues like realization and repatriation. So what is this realization and repatriation? Now you need to understand two important concepts. One is realization, another one is repatriation. Getting from the party outside India is called as a realization. Whatever you got, converting it into rupees is called as a repatriation. Realize means taking steps to get back. Repatriate, giving it to the authorized person. So bringing it to India and giving it to authorized person is called as a repatriation. Okay, section number 8 and 9 governs the same, both for PRI and PRO. Okay, analysis on the definition. So look it here. Foreign exchange. Let me zoom it for your clarity. Okay. First one, foreign exchange. PRI realized a foreign exchange. Let's take one classic example to understand this. We have already completed a concept called as a export regulations under FEMA. So let us take that example and try to understand. Okay. There is a, so let us take an example. Okay. Foreign exchange. There is a PRI. This PRI made an export to USA. And the contract is for 6 months contract. After 6 months, you should realize the receipt. He realized the receipt, repatriated to India. Repatriation to India can be done in two ways. One is cash repatriation, another one is a deposit repatriation. So what is this cash repatriation and deposit repatriation? Let me explain this clearly. Cash repatriation is called as conversion of a realized foreign exchange into rupees in exchange for dollars. Sir, when I am using dollars, since this is a internationally accepted currency, I am using dollar. You can also keep their foreign currency. Okay. Conversion of realized foreign exchange into rupees in exchange for dollars through an authorized person. Example, I made an export to USA. I received $1 lakh. What to do? Give it to an authorized person. Today the value is around, for example, today the value is running around 75 to 76 rupees in dollar. Okay. So today the value of this particular thing, dollar is, let me see. Today the value of the dollar, maybe you can see if I'm not wrong, it is around 76 rupees today. So 76 rupees it is running today because of the high recession going on. Rupee has been depreciated a lot. Okay, rupee depreciated dramatically. It became 76 point some amount, 76.77 or 78 some amount is there. So let's take 77 rupees. 1 rupee, $1 counts at 77 rupee today. Okay, I made an export. Today is my due date. Okay, I didn't hedge the transaction. I will be receiving according to the expected future spot rate as on prevailing today. I made an export of $1 lakh. I received today. What I will do, I will give every $1 lakh to the authorized person, ask him to convert into rupee. He will tell that okay, he will convert and give me 77 lakhs today. Okay, this is one way of repatriation. Now answer my question. I am a frequent trader on a foreign exchange. I am a frequent trader on a foreign exchange. Is it wise? Is it wise? Is it wise to ask me to convert it to cash? No. Do you know why? There is a concept called as ask bid spread maintained by the bankers. What is this ask bid spread? Ask bid spread means, for example, ask bid spread means whenever banker makes a quotation, there are two types of quotes. One is one-way quotation, second one is a two-way quotation. One-way quotation means $1 equal to 60, $1 equal to 70, $1 equal to 77.66. Like that I can quote. Or I can tell $1 equal to 70-75. I said example sake. Let us take this. Now answer, if I sell, I can sell at 70. If I purchase, I have to purchase at 75. Yes or no? Now answer my question. Cash repatriation will be a loss to many MNCs in India. Why it is a loss? For example, I made an export as I already said. I received $1 lakh from that person. I received 1 lakh. In my hands, how many dollars are there? $1 lakh are there. I went to a banker. I converted them. I received 70 lakhs. since the bid rate is 70-75 lakh. Okay, next day immediately I went to the bank. I asked, I want to purchase $1 lakh again for some import payment. Now answer my question, what will happen if I pay 1 lakh, I have to pay 75 lakh. That means in single day I made a loss of 5 lakh. Technically it's a potential loss to me. Okay, now tell me, is it encouraging? Is it a friendly business transaction? Is it a wise way to do the business? No. Therefore, many of the MNCs and big companies are not encouraging cash repatriation. Therefore, government has brought out a concept called as deposit repatriation. I'm not asking you to convert into cash. Keep it in India, that's all. In India, in which form? Deposit. There are two types of deposits again. First deposit is RFC account. Second deposit is convertible debt. That means I will explain in this way. First one will be the deposit account. Second one will be the permanent amount. For example, this account temporarily what I will maintain is called as NRE account. If you are a non-resident or if you are a resident, you can temporarily keep it with the authorized person. Okay, I will explain you clearly. If you are a non-resident, NRE will operate. I already told you about NRE concept. Okay, but if you are a resident PRA, since our example is on PRA, I will explain in this way. See here, deposit can be of two types. You can put this amount permanently in an account called as a RFC account. What is RFC? Resident foreign currency account. Which account? Resident foreign currency account. And a temporary deposit. What is this temporary deposit? I don't want a resident foreign currency account. For example, I have a export receipt. I received $1 lakh. In another 1 month time, I have another payment to make. That is also exactly $1 lakh. Let us say like that. It may be 1 lakh 20, it may be 80,000 also. It's for example sake. Let's have a simple example. I have an export receipt. I received today $1 lakh. I received and keep it in my temporary account with the authorized person. And next one, after that, I have to make a payment. That payment is another $1 lakh that should be paid after 1 month. Now tell me, conversion will again lead to me to a exposure of a risk. Therefore, what I have done, I will keep it with an authorized person temporarily. This temporary deposit will be valid for 180 days. In 180 days, you should again pay for another liability. Immediately in 1 month time, I have another import payment to make. I will transfer this 1 lakh directly. No account will be maintained. Am I clear? So this is another way to do the transaction. So therefore, there are two types of transactions. One is a cash repatriation. Another one is a deposit repatriation. Cash repatriation will be encouraging if you don't have any potential imports and exports in the near future. But if you have some exports and imports, or if you are a frequent importer, let you keep this in a resident foreign currency account or keep it as a temporary deposit. So two types of repatriation: cash, deposit. That's all. This is the concept. Along with the repatriation concept, there is another concept called as surrender of foreign exchange. What is the concept? Surrender. Covered by section number 8 and 9. Let us see what it is. Obligations of the person. Any foreign exchange is due or accrued by a PRI. Such person shall take all the reasonable steps to realize and repatriate. We just completed. Okay, next. You cannot possess any kind of foreign exchange, but there are certain exceptions to that. Possession of foreign currency or foreign coins not exceeding $2,000 allowed, and RBI limit is allowed. Foreign currency received on or before 8th July 1947. I told you what is so great about 8th July 1947. The first forex law emerged in India called as a FERA at that time. Okay, and foreign exchange held by PRA as a gift, inheritance in the course of employment, etc., not exceeding $2,000. This is also allowed. So this is one part of the story under this particular concept called as FEMA.